With our every step, we will shine the light. Together we'll rise, and together we'll fight. We will find the truth with cooking and crime.
That's Nala drinking her water. We just got back from a walk. But welcome back to Season 1, Episode 2. And we're going to visit the Crime Museum. It was so much fun. It's located in Tennessee, Pigeon Forge area. It was a spectacular time, and I thoroughly enjoyed every bit of it. So let's go, and I'll give you a tour of what we looked at. I went with my friend, a fellow TikToker, and here we go. Our first stop is the power of the podcasts. And I tell you what, the podcast has become a great tool, and hopefully investigators in law enforcement are listening, because I have actually seen it with my eyes. A TikTok group push and push and push until a victim was discovered, found, and their perpetrators were captured, are in jail, and awaiting trial. So it works. Social media works. And here we go to the bomb squad. There is the suit. That is the suit. And here is the actual suit as worn by those in the bomb squad. They look pretty similar to today's, so I'm not sure if they've changed or not, but look at that padding on the front end of it. It's incredible. This is a robot, and this robot goes through and can go to places like that are dangerous for a human to go into, and it has a camera up there. So a lot of times they send it in with the bomb squad, ahead of the bomb squad. So that's really cool. I haven't seen them I have. I've seen them on a display. You know, you go to your kid's school and they have a bunch of equipment there. I have seen them for real, but I have not seen one in action. This is pretty cool. These are the different kind of knots that can be used. And I guess that's for execution purposes, but it can also be used to tie up a victim. That's an interactive display where you can make your own knot. This is an actual brick from the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which occurred on February 14th, 1929. It was Bugs Moran's North Side Gang by his bootlegging rival in Chicago, Al Capone's South Side Gang. During an operation meant to target Moran himself, Capone's men impersonated police officers and lined up Moran's men against a wall before gunning them down. Capone was in Florida at the time of the attack. However, it was generally accepted that he had ordered the hit and the killings, harmed his reputation. Ultimately, both Capone and Moran spent time in prison on minor charges and died of illness. Despite their dangerous lifestyle and many assassination attempts on each other, this bullet-impacted brick was removed from the massacre site prior to its demolition in 1967. So that is the marks where those bullets hit. Pretty powerful. I'm not going to get too much into weapons. I'm not going to get too much into that, but this is a weapon that was used. And if you look over here in and to the left into that bowl, you see what looks like flattened ammunition. And here we go. Here's another. Look at that. The round cylinder that has rapid ammunition that would absolutely circulate and go out as it's shot. And this is the American Sniper, the gentleman who wrote this book, Chris Kyle. And Chris Kyle's autobiography, American Sniper, described his life as a Navy SEAL from 1999 to 2009. During this time, Kyle recorded the most sniper kills in military history, protecting his fellow soldiers. The book, which also includes the perspective of his wife, Taya, was on the New York Times bestseller list for 40 weeks. And after Kyle's tragic death, was made into an Academy Award-nominated movie with Bradley Cooper portraying Kyle. Now this is, of course, he was killed by someone he was trying to help at a gun range. He was trying to get him through his mental health and befriend him because he had also had some post-traumatic stress in his life. Sad story. Now here we are with the serial killer. These, as you might recognize, are Jeffrey Dahmer's glasses, prescription glasses. And then we get Department of Correction in Wisconsin up there. These are his actual glasses. Absolutely. I don't know the word I can use when I see something like that. It's just surreal, I guess is what I would say. This is Ted Bundy, Theodore Bundy's vehicle. And if you can see, the left seat, the passenger seat, is not in the vehicle. He removed that. They're removable in these VW Bugs. And he would remove it so that he could make his victim lay here. So it would lay in where the seat would normally go. And it's very scary. And you can also remove the other seat, and that's how he would clean the vehicle out from any of his victims' DNA. What is this you say? It is the Bronco, the 1993 Ford Bronco that O.J. Simpson was in the vehicle of, and his friend was driving it, and O.J. was threatening to unalive himself. And that was the famous chase scene that you can still find today. That chase scene. I watched it live from a news station and a helicopter in California. I remember watching that live. Do you remember watching it live? It was crazy, wasn't it? And now we come to Bonnie and Clyde. And look at that. Look at that. From there, you can see it all down the driver's side. It's insane. Like, man, that's crazy. And now we come to the Murdaugh murders. Now, right at this time, Murdaugh has been granted a new trial because of Becky Hill. I will be doing a long podcast on that, solo, just the Murdaugh murders. I actually went to school with a lady who married a gentleman, and that gentleman was Alex Murdaugh's insurance agent. So I'll be discussing that also. And I'm not tying Stephen Smith to the Murdaughs. However, his name came up and his homicide came up with the fact that through the Murdaugh, it became everybody knew about it because of the Murdaugh cases. Now, it says on this thing, murder, I have not found any substantiation that he was murdered. At this point, I am not going to say he was murdered. I'm going to say it was homicide, because that has been substantiated from SLED. So anyway, this gentleman was found on the road at night, not living any longer. We have, there's been an exhumation of him and all sorts of information. But I will put that on in the future podcasts about the Murdaghs, just to tie it in. This guy, BTK, Dennis Rader, BTK stands for bind, B-I-N-D, torture, kill. He is one of the most terrifying men I have ever looked into. I love investigating and looking into serial killers. Not their victims. I'm very sad for their victims. But the mind frame of a serial killer. And that will also be explained as to why in a future podcast next week. I believe it will be next Sunday, that will be coming out on me and how I came to do what I do, and all my accreditations and all of that. So we'll look at that in the future too. Please look for that podcast and look into it. Also, while you're at it, click subscribe and hit the notification bell so that when I put a new podcast out, you will be able to go straight to it. It'll notify you. I plan on putting one out on Friday, one out on Saturday, and one out on Sunday. So look for those Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of each week. The BTK terrifies me so much because of the victims. He did children. He killed children, men, women. He really had some weird things going on. Weird. Like I say, we're going to do him in a future episode of just him. I bought some books on him and through the FBI and how they did all that. And it's very interesting, and I can't wait to cover that and share it with everybody. What is the scariest serial killer to you? I would say BTK to me, and then the next would be Gacy, but really any of them. But when you consider BTK went into people's homes and Gacy kind of just kidnapped people and brought them to his house, whereas someone like the Green River Killer went out on the street and found people that were the night people, the people of the night. When you're sitting at your home with your husband and your kid, that's a completely different thing to me. And here we go, right into Gacy. He was so scary. And he has artwork, his Elvis, that's that's his leather jacket, and up on the wall you see the wallet. There's his clown suits. Is this crazy? Look at those. Those are two of his clown suits. It's insane how they get these. Charles Manson. And here we have a record. In my day, these were called 45s. They still are 45s, but we had record players. And you had 33, 78, and 45s. This was the smallest in circumference and usually only had one song on one side and one song on the other side. And side A was the song that you went in to get because it was a great song. It was the hit. It was the best. And then side B was like the one they were trying to promote, and it wasn't the best. So that's why they used the term A and B. A side and B side. A celebrity, B celebrity. Anyway, so that is a song. This was to go in with the, I don't know, he didn't actually kill them. He had followers. And It was the whole night helter-skelter. He had this record, and this is an uncredited. It was taken and reworked. Well, Charles Manson wrote a song that was very similar to this song. Charles Manson became very angry because this was his song. Manson received no songwriting credit, and Dennis Wilson was credited instead. That deepened Manson's resentment towards the music industry and people he believed had used or rejected him. The Beach Boy recorded a rewritten version of Manson's song, but Manson received no credit. He felt cheated, and the experience left him angry and bitter. And in my opinion, Manson used his followers as a vehicle to avenge his wounded pride. He felt rejected, cheated, and disrespected by the music industry, and rather than acting himself, he manipulated others to carry out his rage. So that's what I believe Manson's whole thing was about. He wasn't some guru. That guitar was actually given to a gentleman by the name of George Stimson. And that Manson had given Stimson the guitar. Anyway, that's pretty powerful. And now we come to Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos was a serial killer in the state of Florida. Her childhood was filled with severe abuse and abandonment, exploitation, and instability. Aileen Wuornos committed terrible crimes, and her victims cannot be forgotten, and I won't forget them. But her life was shaped by horrific abuse, abandonment, and exploitation from childhood. In my opinion, I don't believe she deserved the death penalty. She should have received life in prison. And it's the same as Krista Pike, who is right now on Tennessee's death row. She had a very neglectful, abusive childhood. She was 18 when she committed the crime. The histories do not excuse what they did, but they should have carried substantial weight in sentencing. Accountability does not require execution. Just remember that. Just remember that. This is the necklace of Aileen's, and this is the last photograph taken of her. Like the day later, one day later, she was executed. That's chilling. And now we come to poor little Adam Walsh. I remember this same poster. It was in the window. I was a child, and it was displayed at the drive-through window of an old Burger Queen, Queen, Burger Queen, on Palm Beach Boulevard in East Fort Myers. That restaurant is long gone, but I have never forgotten poor little Adam Walsh. I will also be later doing a podcast just on the Adam Walsh and his brother and the foundation and what has been going on in his legacy. It's a sad story, but one I remember from childhood. Now this photograph is Otis O'Toole. Photograph. It's a drawing Otis O'Toole did. Otis O'Toole, years after he died, he was in prison when he died. Police officially named him as Adam Walsh's killer and closed the case. He was never tried or convicted for Adam's murder. However, they tried him they didn't try him, but after he was already dead, they named him the killer. And I will later do, like I say, a whole podcast on that because it's very sad, but there's been some wonderful things that have come about after that. Callahan, Walsh, his brother. We'll get into all that later, but it's really an inspirational story of what's been going on. Now, these are death masks. They make them, that has the eyes open, but they make them to put over the person who has passed. This one was made way back when, and it's what they used. I guess I don't know why they used a death mask. I cannot fathom what the whole experience was about. And this is Martin Luther King's death mask, who was reportedly commissioned by his family after his death. The artist made a copy, and this is the copy. Now, maybe they do it just to have a keepsake. I don't know. This is a pretty significant jersey. It was owned by Matthew Shepard, who was unalived because he was a homosexual. And James Bird had a horrific story. Matthew was beat to death and left for dead, where he was later put into the hospital and where he later died. James Bird was drugged 3 miles by a pickup truck. The 3 men, 2 of them were white supremacists, and the third got life in prison. The driver got life in prison, and the other 2 received the death sentence. Very, very sad story. And here is Gianni Versace. He was a well-known designer and lived in Miami. And Andrew Cunanan was his murderer. And he sought him out and shot him one morning while he was just outside getting coffee and a paper. That will be a story. Andrew Cunanan is one of they call him a serial killer, yet he had spree-like murders. So if you're into that type of thing, there's the serial killer, the spree killer. Even Ted Bundy was at one time a serial killer. Then he transitioned into a spree killer. I don't know if that's how Cunanan did it, but the FBI says he was a serial killer, and others have come along and said he was a spree killer. So I believe he was probably both. And this is John Lisk. I remember watching this. I watched this on, I think it was America's Most Wanted, where they went, and that's clay. And they used a picture of him when he was younger. Then they made clay out of what he would look like now. And then I think the story goes they went out to get some old looking glasses that looked like him at the time, and they found them at like a secondhand store, and found them and put them on him and put it out, and he was found. John Lisk was found because of this statue and being on America's Most Wanted, which was narrated or hosted by Adam Walsh's father, John. And this is the bicycle, the first bicycle ever owned by Jean Benet Ramsey. As we all know, or most of us know, she was a little girl who went to beauty pageants, and her parents were quite wealthy, and she ended up unalived in their home on the Christmas holiday. And this is body of evidence. It's just a sign that it was a lot of forensic equipment and the way things did forensically. I didn't upload all the photographs, but the sign is really cool and I love it. But that's in the museum too. And then here at the end, it's wanted, Alcatraz East. Do you have a story or crime artifact to share? Artifacts at crimemuseum.org. That is ARTIFACTSCRIMEMUSEUM.org. And now we've reached the time to put away the crime and start cooking some gumbo and rice. Let's go. Nala, have you been playing in the blankets? And this is why I cannot make my bed or the pillows. It's a pillow. Why are you ignoring me? Have you been playing in the blankies? Have you? You have. Yeah. Making the gumbo. First you need the Holy Trinity, which is going to be celery, and I like to use 2 types of green pepper. Bell pepper. Bell pepper chopped up. Very, very nice. For a little added spice, I put in a jalapeno pepper, but I make it really, really tiny. I don't use large pieces of that. I make it tiny pieces, so it just gives it that. And of course, the onion. The Holy Trinity is actually 3 items. It's onion, celery, and pepper, bell pepper. That's the Holy Trinity. So we make up the Holy Trinity, and then there's okra. You have to chop up the okra. You start out with olive oil, and then you add flour to it. 1/3 of the flour, mix it in, and you just, to get to the chocolatey color, I'd say 20 minutes, maybe half hour of constant stirring. And then you have to be able to drag your spatula through it. Shrimp, salmon, and chicken. And I use cooked shrimp already and sockeye salmon. Sausage. I get chicken and cook the chicken, or I buy chicken, rotisserie chicken, and debone that. And those are our meats. Liquid that I got from boiling chicken, I save that liquid as a base. And a Cajun spice, it's just called Cajun. I add them to taste, and it is gorgeous, delicious. And then we add the vegetables. Once those vegetables are softened and have been cooking, I would say cook it on low medium, because the meat's already in there cooking. And once we add those vegetables, and there you go, then you have homemade gumbo, and it is delicious.